Hello everyone, I'm Will, and welcome to X Investigation. Our story takes place in the Ural Mountains, located in central western Russia. This mountain range serves as the natural boundary between Europe and Asia. It stretches between 40 to 150 kilometers wide and runs generally north-south, extending from the Kara Sea coast in the Arctic Ocean to the Ural River Valley in the south, covering over 2,500 kilometers. The average elevation ranges from 1,000 to 1,300 meters, with the highest peak being Mount Narodnaya at 1,895 meters. The Urals are known for their perennial snow and permafrost zones. Their slopes are asymmetrical, with the western slope being relatively gentle, making it a popular starting point for mountaineers and adventure teams. Unlike most climbers who seek to conquer towering peaks, the Ural Mountains aren't particularly high. However, their high latitude and harsh climate still pose significant challenges and risks. Our story's protagonist is named Dyatlov. Dyatlov, a 23-year-old student at the Ural Polytechnic Institute's radio engineering department, was highly skilled with his hands. He could assemble a radio by the age of 15. Besides his interest in radio technology, he was passionate about mountaineering and hiking. After enrolling at the institute, he joined the school sports club and frequently participated in various hiking and mountaineering activities, mostly in the Ural Mountains. Dyatlov had 9 climbing experiences, leading 5 of them as the team leader, making him quite experienced. In the winter of 1959, Dyatlov planned another hiking and mountaineering expedition, this time aiming for Mount Otorten. This mountain, standing at 1,182 meters, is located in Sverdlovsk Oblast. Despite the local name of the mountain meaning, "don't go there," Dyatlov was determined to take on the challenge, even choosing the harsh winter season for the expedition. After deciding on the destination, he began assembling a team. The group eventually grew to 10 members, including 2 women. 9 of the 10 were from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, with Dyatlov as the leader. After consulting a geologist, Dyatlov and his team meticulously planned their itinerary. According to their plan, the team would gather at their school and travel from Sverdlovsk city, passing through Ivdel, before arriving at Vizhai for a brief rest. They aimed to set off for Mount Otorten on January 28th, cross it, and return to Vizhai by February 12th. The expedition was set to last about 16 days, covering approximately 200 miles on skis and summiting several peaks. The team, led by Dyatlov, submitted their plan to the Sverdlovsk City Route Commission, which approved their route. This commission operates under the Sports and Athletics Committee. All team members held second-class mountaineering certificates from the Soviet government, demonstrating their experience. Given the cold winter season and the challenging route, the authorities classified the expedition as Category 3 in difficulty. Successfully completing this expedition would earn all members third-class mountaineering certificates, the highest level issued by the Soviet government at the time. No one anticipated the catastrophe the team would face during their expedition, an event that shocked the world and became known as the Dyatlov Pass Incident. On January 27, 1959, a 10-person mountaineering team, led by 23-year-old Dyatlov from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, set off on their journey. Following their plan, the team boarded a train and, after 2 days of travel, arrived in Ivdel. After a brief stay, they caught the first bus to Ivdel at 7 a.m. and arrived in Vizhai around 2 p.m. Having traveled for several days, the team was tired and decided to rest in the small town for a day before continuing. They settled into the local inn and later visited the local club to watch a movie called Golden Symphony. That night, they enjoyed a good night's sleep at the inn, shaking off the fatigue from their journey. On January 26th, the next day, each team member wrote a letter home. Dyatlov, the leader, went to the local post office to send the letters. He also sent a telegram to the school sports club, informing them that they had arrived in Vizhai and that everything was going according to plan. At 1:10 p.m., the team left Vizhai in an open truck that lacked brakes and shock absorbers. The cold weather and lack of shelter on the truck caused Yuri Yudin to fall ill, suffering pain in his sciatic nerve due to exposure to the wind and snow. By 4:30 p.m., they arrived at the 41st settlement, 40 kilometers north of Vizhay, where they were warmly welcomed by the local residents. They spent the evening chatting with the locals, taking group photos, and watching 3 more movies before ending the day. On January 27th, the group began their trek toward Otorten, a mountain located 10 kilometers north of the incident site. After a day's walk, Udin's sciatic nerve inflammation worsened, causing him unbearable pain. To avoid slowing the group down, he decided to turn back, reducing the team from 10 to 9 members. On January 31st, after 4 days of hiking, the team reached the valley of the Lazva River. In a wooded valley, they cached surplus food and equipment for their return trip. On February 1st, the 10th day of the expedition and the 5th day of hiking, the team left the valley to cross a pass. They planned to camp on the other side of the mountain that night. However, unexpected situations kept arising, disrupting their plan. Severe weather conditions and a snowstorm that reduced visibility caused the team to lose their way. They deviated from their planned route and ended up 20 kilometers south of their target peak, at a mountain called Kolet. This mountain, standing at 1,079 meters high, is also known as Mount 1079. Kolet is located at the border of the Komi Republic and Sverdlovsk Oblast, and in the local language it means Mountain of Death. By 5 p.m., the team reached the eastern slope of Mount 1079 and realized they had gone the wrong way. After some deliberation, they found that 1.5 kilometers below their current position lay a forested area with relatively flat terrain. The forest could provide shelter from the wind and snow, making it suitable for camping. However, descending would mean wasting the day's effort and forfeiting the altitude they had gained. As night fell, they decided, after much consideration, to camp on the slope rather than descend to a flatter, forested area that could have offered some shelter from the weather. This decision ultimately sealed the fate of the 9 members. According to their plan, the team was supposed to return to the village within 2 weeks. Before setting out, they had agreed with the school sports club to send a telegram confirming their safe return to Vizhay by February 12th. Due to the snowstorm and getting lost, their return was delayed beyond the planned date of February 12th. The school sports club did not receive the expected telegram. Given the many variables that could affect the timing of a mountaineering trip, it was not unusual for the completion time to be delayed by a day or 2. Udin, the team member who had returned due to illness, mentioned that Dyatlov had informed him they might be delayed by a few days. As a result, even though the club did not receive the expected telegram, they did not consider it a major issue. They trusted that the experienced mountaineers would return safely. However, the parents of the students, growing anxious due to the lack of communication, continuously inquired about their children's status. To reassure them, the club officials falsely claimed they had received the team's telegram, temporarily calming the parents' fears. By February 20th, 8 days after the expected return date, the school club still had not received any word from the mountaineers. They finally admitted the truth to the parents, who then demanded immediate search and rescue efforts. On February 20th, after the travelers' relatives demanded a rescue operation, the institute administrators dispatched the first search teams, comprising volunteer students and teachers. Soon after, the army and police forces joined the effort, with planes and helicopters being deployed. The search party traced the mountaineers' planned route but found no signs of them until February 26th, 6 days later. A student from the search team discovered the climbers' tent on Mount 1079, which had collapsed under the weight of the snow. The campsite was located on the northeast slope of the mountain, at a 30-degree incline, and 300 meters from the summit. The ground where the tent was set up was relatively flat, supported by 8 pairs of skis placed underneath. The tent's entrance faced south, and its top was covered with 15 to 20 centimeters of snow. A flashlight was found on top of the tent, still switched on but with dead batteries. It was possibly left there intentionally so the hikers could find their way back once the winds subsided. Inside the tent, the searchers discovered 9 backpacks containing the climbers' coats, pants, socks, hats, and other personal items. Utensils and food were also left behind, along with 4 cameras and 5 diaries. The last diary entry was dated January 31st. Based on these findings, the search team speculated that the expedition lost their way on February 1st and ended up on Mount 1079. However, these clues did not resolve the search team's questions. Why did these experienced mountaineers choose to camp on a slope? Yuri Yudin, who had to return due to illness, guessed that the team had covered only a short distance on the first day because of a snowstorm. Not wanting to lose the altitude they had gained, they decided to camp on the slope. The search team later found numerous slashes on the tent, which appeared to have been cut from the inside with a knife. One of these slashes was large enough for a person to pass through. The pressing issue now was to find the mountaineers and answer all the unresolved questions. Outside the tent, the search team discovered a series of footprints. They identified 9 sets of footprints, corresponding to the 9 team members. Some tracks showed only one shoe, while others indicated the person was wearing only socks. In such freezing conditions, it seemed inexplicable that they would be without proper clothing and shoes, suggesting an urgent situation had occurred. These footprints extended northward for about 500 meters before disappearing. The search team scoured the area where the footprints ended but found no trace of the mountaineers. They speculated that the group had continued north and followed that direction. About 1.5 kilometers from the campsite, they discovered a forest with a tall Siberian pine tree. Beneath the tree, they found evidence of a fire that had burned for approximately an hour and a half, determined by the size of the remaining branches and ashes. Several wool and cotton socks were scattered around the fire. The pine tree showed signs of someone climbing it, with broken branches up to 5 meters high, likely an attempt to view the surroundings from a higher vantage point. 2 bodies were found near the tree. An incident occurred, and evidence suggested the individual had been moved post-mortem. Their clothing was noted, but there were no visible signs of distress or injuries on the face. It's speculated that the person might have taken actions to stay alert or manage their emotions, possibly influenced by unpleasant feelings. The medical examination revealed significant injuries comparable to those seen in car crash victims. Other than this, no additional significant effects were observed. When discovered, the individual's hands were positioned in a specific manner, and they were wearing a combination of clothing items. No internal injuries were noted. The female team member, Kamagorova, was found wearing relatively complete clothing. She was the only female among the 5 discovered so far, dressed in a long-sleeved shirt and 2 sweaters. One of Kamagorova's sweaters had a tear, and she was wearing multiple layers of clothing. There was a noticeable effect on her midsection, but it was not life-threatening. Slobodin was found wearing a shirt and a sweater on her upper body, 2 pairs of pants, 4 pairs of socks, and a single shoe on her right foot. The watch on her wrist had stopped at 8:45. She had a small skull fracture, and medical experts believed she had experienced a significant impact that affected her coordination. Although the first 5 individuals discovered had some bruises, none of their injuries were fatal. Medical experts concluded that all the individuals had suffered from severe hypothermia. Given the environmental temperature, forensic experts initially estimated their time of death to be over 2 weeks prior. Based on the condition of these 5 individuals, the possibility of unnatural causes was quickly dismissed. However, the discovery of the remaining 4 climbers changed the direction of the investigation. By May, 2 months after the first 5 members were found, the melting snow on the mountains allowed search teams to continue looking for the remaining 4. Everyone understood that the chances of survival for the remaining 4 were slim. The Mansi people, who live near the Ural Mountains and are semi-nomadic, joined the search efforts and provided significant assistance. Their expertise paid off when a Mansi man and his dog noticed scattered branches not far from a pine tree. Following a trail of branches, they discovered a pair of black sports pants with the right leg torn about 50 meters from the pine tree. These were suspected to belong to one of the climbers. Continuing their search, they found the remaining 4 climbers in a ravine 75 meters from the pine tree, buried under up to 4 meters of snow. During the search 2 months earlier, thick snow had prevented them from finding these climbers, even though they were not far from the pine tree. Unlike the 5 climbers found earlier, these 4 were dressed more warmly. They were wrapped in torn clothing fragments, likely taken from other team members, which might explain why the earlier 5 were found in such light clothing. The medical examination of the 4 revealed shocking results. The female team member, Dubinina, was discovered wearing 2 shirts and 2 sweaters. Zolotaryov was found with 2 hats on his head, a scarf, a long-sleeved shirt, a black sweater, a coat, and 3 pairs of pants. Both Dubinina and Zolotaryov had significant physical injuries, indicating they were conscious when they were hurt. These injuries were unusual and resembled those caused by extreme forces, similar to a bomb blast. Tibor Brignol was dressed in a leather hat, a knitted wool hat, a wool sweater, and a fur jacket. He wore 3 pairs of pants, wool socks, and specialized Siberian winter boots. On his wrist, he had 2 watches, one stopped at 8:14 and the other at 8:39. A medical examination revealed his injuries were not from an accidental fall. Remarkably, there were no external marks on his body, suggesting that a significant force, akin to a car crash, had caused his injuries. Kolevatov was similarly found wearing multiple layers of clothing, but his body showed signs of physical deterioration and severe injuries. Among the 4, only Kolevatov's cause of death was hypothermia. The other 3 had injuries that required substantial force. Another unusual finding was that the clothing of Dubinina and Zolotaryov tested positive for radioactive contamination. Zolotaryov was found with a camera around his neck. Despite the freezing conditions, he had not forgotten to bring the camera, suggesting it might have contained crucial information. Unfortunately, the film inside Zolotaryov's camera was damaged and could not be restored. All 9 members of the expedition team, including their leader Dyatlov, perished within 6 to 8 hours after their last meal. Notably, 3 of them died from severe injuries, which is unusual for a mountaineering accident. The mysterious circumstances prompted the Soviet military to intervene in the investigation. After some time, Soviet authorities concluded that there were no signs of a struggle at the scene. They also determined that the Mansi people, who lived 80 kilometers away, were friendly and unlikely to have committed murder. The official Soviet investigation concluded that the 9 climbers had encountered a powerful unknown force. Following the release of the investigation results, the criminal case was closed. The detailed investigation report was classified, and all related documents were stored in a secret archive. Fast forward to 2018, 59 years after the Dyatlov incident, and the mystery still captivated the world. Everyone was eager to uncover the truth about what happened to those 9 climbers. Renewed interest sparked further inquiries and speculation. Journalists from the Russian tabloid newspaper Komsomolskaya Pravda pushed for a continued investigation, leading to the exhumation of Zolotaryov's body in April of that year for further examination. Shockingly, DNA tests revealed that the remains did not match any of Zolotaryov's living relatives, adding to the mystery. However, facial reconstruction of the skull did match Zolotaryov's photographs. Despite the lack of progress in the official investigation, public speculation never ceased. In 1999, with help from Ural State Technical University, the Dyatlov Foundation was established to promote further investigation into the incident and to preserve the climbers' belongings. Over the years, many theories have emerged, ranging from attacks by local tribes to encounters with mythical creatures. Author Donny Ikar, in his book Dead Mountain, The Untold True Story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident, presents a unique hypothesis. He theorizes that the mountain's unique shape, with its perfect dome at the summit, could create a phenomenon known as the Kármán vortex street when strong winds pass through. This phenomenon, proposed by Hungarian-American physicist Theodor von Kármán, occurs when airflow past a cylindrical object produces alternating vortices on either side, creating a regular pattern of double rows of vortices. Ikar suggests that strong winds passing over Mount 1079 could have created such a vortex street, generating low-frequency infrasound. Although inaudible to the human ear, infrasound can have severe effects on the human body and mind, such as causing rapid breathing and unexplained feelings of fear. Ikar claims that, in their panic, the hikers were driven to leave the tent by any means necessary and fled down the slope. In February 2019, Russia reopened the investigation into the Dyatlov Pass incident. Earlier conclusions had suggested various theories, including supernatural phenomena, as the cause of the deaths. After a year of re-examination, officials announced on July 11, 2020, that a slab avalanche was the true cause of the incident. A slab avalanche occurs when a surface layer of snow detaches from the layer beneath it and moves down an incline in large chunks. By digging out a flat area for their tent, the hikers weakened the snow's support structure. Combined with the ongoing blizzard, additional snow accumulated on the slope, eventually causing the underlying snow to give way. They fled barefoot and without proper clothing in their rush to reach safety. Since the avalanche was relatively small, it did not cover their footprints. Something went catastrophically wrong. Due to hypothermia, Dyatlov and his group couldn't make it back to the tent and froze to death on the way. They lost feeling in their bodies and burned their hands while desperately huddling close to the fire for warmth. To stay warm, the 4 remaining members took the clothes from their deceased teammates. Leaving the fire behind, they continued down the mountain, hoping to find a safer place. Unfortunately, they didn't realize the snow cave was over a ravine, causing them to fall in and get buried under the snow. In 1957, the Soviet Union experienced the KYSHTYM disaster, a radioactive contamination accident at the Mayak plant, which ranks as the 3rd largest nuclear disaster in history. Their modeling and simulation experiments supported the slab avalanche theory. They discovered that in a slab avalanche, each cubic meter of snow can weigh up to 400 kilograms, which is capable of causing severe injuries to the human chest and head. As the hikers pushed the tent from the inside, the pressure in their bodies remained high, leading to internal injuries such as broken bones and severe chest fractures, comparable to car crash injuries. After the incident, the mountain pass on 1079 was named Dyatlov Pass, in honor of the team leader Igor Dyatlov. He devoted his life to uncovering the true cause of the accident but sadly did not live to see the final results. They concluded that an avalanche led to the deaths. 61 years after the Dyatlov incident, the truth may finally be coming to light. In his book, Dead Mountain, The Untold True Story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident, author Donnie Ikar presents a new hypothesis. He suggests that infrasound caused the deaths of the 9 team members. Ikar dedicated 5 years to researching the Dyatlov incident, even spending a night at the site on Mount 1079 to understand what the hikers might have experienced that fateful night. He theorizes that the mountain's unique shape, with its perfect dome at the summit, played a crucial role. Strong winds passing over this dome could create a phenomenon known as the Kármán vortex street, a fluid dynamics effect identified by Hungarian-American physicist Theodor von Kármán. In this phenomenon, airflow around a cylindrical object generates alternating vortices on either side, forming a regular pattern of double rows of vortices. These vortices can interfere with each other, forming a nonlinear vortex street. Investigators concluded that when the hikers set up camp on Mount 1079, the snow was still loose and not well bonded. Hearing the avalanche, the hikers immediately cut open their tent to escape. After the avalanche subsided, they hurried to the treeline and tried to make a fire for warmth. However, their body temperatures continued to drop, putting their lives in grave danger. They encountered a significant problem. During the avalanche, it was already dark, and in their rush to escape, they didn't pay attention to the direction they were fleeing. Now, they had no idea where their tent was located. However, they faced a significant problem. The avalanche struck in the dark, and in their frantic escape, the team lost their bearings and had no idea where their tent was located. One of them climbed a pine tree, hoping to spot the tent from a higher vantage point. Afterward, Dyatlov led a few members to attempt a return to the camp, while the others stayed behind to wait. Tragically, due to hypothermia, they couldn't make it back and froze to death along the way. The 2 members waiting by the tree also succumbed to the cold. However, in the darkness, they were unable to return to their shelter. They reached a spot 75 meters from the tree and dug a snow cave to shield themselves from the wind and snow. Their eyes and tongues were likely eaten by scavenging animals. The radioactive substances found on their clothing were probably due to the local environment. The explosion occurred 600 kilometers south of Mount 1079. Investigators believe that radioactive materials from the accident drifted to Mount 1079, contaminating the environment and the climbers' clothes. In 2021, a team of physicists and engineers, led by Professor Alexander Puzrin from the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology Zurich and Professor Johann Gaum from the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology Lausanne, published an article. As the hikers emerged from the tent, they pushed against it from the inside. Due to the high pressure still present in their bodies, they sustained internal injuries, including broken bones. This explains the high-pressure injuries observed. A monument stands about 500 meters southeast of the campsite to commemorate all the climbers who perished in the Dyatlov incident. The only survivor, Yuri Yudin, who had returned early due to illness, passed away in 2013. Yuri Yudin dedicated his life to uncovering the true cause of the accident, but unfortunately did not live to see the final results. It is reassuring that the investigation results published by the Russian authorities in 2020, which concluded that an avalanche led to the deaths, are currently the most credible explanation. 60 years after the Dyatlov Pass incident, scientists have finally proposed a plausible explanation that withstands counterarguments. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Your support keeps us going. Thank you.